right. Hello and welcome from an in-person podcast. We're here at the Duda office in Louisville, Colorado. I'm here with Itai Sadan, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Awesome. I'll let you introduce yourself in a second.
Yeah.
And then also my business partner, Daniel Burns. He's our COO at Boulder SEO Marketing. Daniel, I'll let you introduce yourself as well. My name is Raulf, AI SEO Expert, founder of Boulder SEO Marketing. Why don't we start with Itai? Who are you for those that don't know you? What is your business? Give us the big picture.
Yeah. So first of all, guys, thanks for coming by. It's fun to do this. We do these podcasts all the time remotely. It's fun to do it in person. So my name is Itai Sadan. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Duda. Duda is a white label website builder targeted at agencies. And what we've built is a platform for agencies mostly digital marketing agencies, and some tech platforms are using to build websites for their SMB customers. We have today over 1 million active paying sites on the platform,
Right.
and about 22,000 agencies worldwide using Duda. And we're here in our Louisville office, which is our U.S. headquarters.
Yeah, incidentally, and Daniel, I'll let you introduce yourself in a second. Daniel and I actually did a webinar with Duda. To our friends SE Ranking, they introduced us to Duda. And then I reconnected with Anton, one of your employees. We go way back. And then after the webinar, he's like, hey, our CEO, he's in Louisville. I'm like, hey, I'm in Superior, right across the bridge, right? That's how we connected.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're super excited to be here. Daniel, why don't you briefly introduce yourself and also your background in website development, which I know way less about than you.
Yeah, for sure. So Daniel, before joining forces with Chris, I ran a website design agency in Los Angeles for about 20 years. And then after that, I joined forces with Chris, where today in the agency, Chris is really the forward thinker about the SEO, and I'm really focused on the website side of things, because more than ever, website speed, core web vitals, functionality plays a huge influence on how well a website is optimized. So a lot of what I bring to the table is that. And it's funny because Duda, when we did the webinar with Antoine, and I said, Duda, I used Duda way in the beginning of my 20 years, which is when Duda had the Go Mobile feature, right? And all of the websites were scrambling to figure out how to get a mobile version of the website. And I remember I used Duda tremendously at that time.
Yeah. We were called Duda Mobile back then. That's how I started the company together with my co-founder Amir. And this is way back 2010. That's kind of the idea that spurred the formation of the company. We were looking for there was the mobile proliferation. The iPhone came out like in late 2007, Android in 2008, and what we noticed is that some of the big companies like Amazon created this mobile version, m.amazon.com, and eBay created m.ebay, right? Back then, that was the way to do it. You create a dedicated site for mobile. But we look at all these SMBs around, and they didn't have the skill set, they didn't have the know-how, they didn't have the budgets to build those. So the initial idea behind the company was, how do we take a regular desktop site and turn it into mobile? And we did that. We created this really simple tool. All you had to do is put in the URL of your desktop site, right? Click submit, and it does its magic behind the scenes, and you have a mobile site. And that was kind of the first product for a while, like for the first 4 or 5 years. Then kind of with the proliferation of devices, there was the tablet and desktop and mobile, and people had screens in their cars. It was clear that small businesses didn't want to build a site for every size of device. And more or less at the same time, the paradigm of responsive web design came up, which enabled people to basically build it once and it runs on all screens. And we were looking at that and we said, okay, we have to jump on this responsive web design bandwagon. That's the future. we came from this very mobile DNA of a company, and we were rushing to add these other screens. Some of the other CMSs out there were doing the opposite. They were desktop first, and they were rushing to add mobile. And kind of as we met in the middle, we started to ask ourselves questions like, how do we differentiate? How are we unique versus some of these other platforms? And we looked at our user base, and about 50% were small businesses, but the other 50% were agencies, web designers, freelancers, people building mobile sites, websites on behalf of SMBs. And we felt that this market was underserved with the solutions that there were today. Most of the solutions were very SMB focused, not thinking about, hey, there's an agency here who's working with clients, and inside the agency, there's multiple people, right? There's the content creator, there's the web designer, graphic designer, QA person. We wanted to create kind of a platform for them. And we made that decision about 4 or 5 years into the company that we're going to be a web pro company first. We didn't fire our SMB customers. It just kind of transitioned over time, where we decided, hey, this is our focus. So all product development features are going to be agency focused. Our messaging is going to change to be agency focused. And that brought just a lot of, focus overall to the company, and gave us a much more clear line of who we're for and what we're about.
Yeah, you can't be everything to everybody. I read that article in Entrepreneur, writer, or like you contribute, right, to Entrepreneur.
Yeah,
so it's an interesting article. So awesome. Thank you so much for that introduction. So this podcast, it's not just about SEO. So I think the audience here, digital marketing agency owners, way back when I started my agency, I wish I'd known about Duda. So we'll talk more about that.
Never too late.
Yeah. We spoke about that at the beginning. This podcast, web designers, SEO professionals, and obviously we're going to talk about AI. I think you have a lot going on with AI as well. Duda made a critical pivot from being a direct competitor to platforms like Wix and Squarespace, becoming a dedicated agency-first platform. What was the catalyst for that strategic shift, and what does it truly mean to be agency-first?
Yeah.
And you already briefly talked about that.
Yeah.
Do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, we can dig in a little bit deeper into what does it mean to be agency-first? It's not enough just to say it. How does that proliferate into the platform? So I think first, after years and working with a lot of agencies, you get a lot of feedback of what agencies want. In terms of, it's always kind of this balance of, how do I give you powerful features but still keep it easy, and make sure that the platform is very flexible, so agencies can build what their clients want. And kind of flexibility and ease of use is always like a very delicate balance. And I think that's something that we focus on a lot. We don't want to limit in any way. I think a lot of the SMB platforms, this is where, in order to be very easy for an SMB, someone who doesn't know anything about websites, to be able to launch a website in 2 minutes, they have to be very restrictive, and they have to be very unflexible in a way. So this is kind of the opposite of where we're going. We don't want to be WordPress, where you can do, essentially you could do everything, but it's going to take you hours, days, weeks to do. We want to still to make sure that it's an easy process, that we are constantly thinking, how do we cut down the time that it takes to develop a website? But within giving you the ability, if you want to get into the code, if you want to put JavaScript, if you want to play with the pixels, you can do it. So a lot of thought is being put into kind of, I would call it, productivity and efficiency. We actually have a squad inside the company in the engineering team that is called productivity. That's what they think about. There's another squad that is fast and beautiful, how to make sure that the websites are fast and beautiful, right? Websites is an element of design. it's fashion, and you have to stay constantly on the cutting edge. So make sure, right, the things like parallax designs, video backgrounds, animations, all these things are available. We focus a lot on integration. So we know that a lot of our customers have data in databases, in CRMs. Sometimes it makes sense to bring that data into the website. So being able to integrate data from the outside into the website could be if you're building, a website and there's the staff and their images, and being also able to replicate. A lot of the time savings comes from agencies that we see a lot like to create custom templates and custom sections. So there is a lot of reuse, and maybe a beautiful site that was built for one customer can be slightly changed or adapted in different ways and be a good starting for another customer. Hopefully it's not, you never want to build the same website, but you can use a lot of these building blocks for future websites. And then, we haven't talked a lot about AI, right? We will get into it.
Yeah.
We're doing a lot of investments there, and we'll touch upon that, I'm sure. In this.
Why don't we, Daniel, any questions?
Well, I do have a question. So putting myself in the agency perspective, right? So you're saying agencies have that flexibility to go out there and do a lot that more restricted systems don't. But at the end of the day, the agency gives access to the CMS to the owner of the business. And then one of the challenges that we've always had working with WordPress, for example, they need a whole educational tutorial on how, and I'm thinking Duda, one of the solutions that it brings to the table is making the agency's lives way easier by providing business owners that are not necessarily tech savvy with a very simple interface to be able to update their websites.
Yeah, one of the quotes that I really liked from one of our customers that I saw was, they said, "This is a very powerful platform for my agency to use, and it's easy for me to turn it over to the end customer to let them maintain the site."
Very cool. I have a question now. Does the agency have the ability to select which tools and switches?
Yes. So the platform is highly customizable, starting from the fact that you can totally white label it. So your end customers would never know that it's Duda behind the scenes, all the way to, if you go to view source, you won't find the name Duda inside the source code.
Okay.
So it's something that is very important for a lot of our customers. But then in terms of, we have roles and permissions that you can grant to different people, including people in your staff, and then to clients, and you can limit the capabilities that a client would have. So for example, you might say the client can, if there's an e-commerce store, maybe they can add new products and new SKUs. Or if it's a regular website, they can update images, but maybe they can't change certain text in certain pages. They definitely cannot delete the website. They cannot unpublish, republish. These are things that only the agency can do, and so on. So there's a lot of granularity in terms of the capabilities, and you can assign it to different roles, and clients are one of the roles.
I mean, in full transparency, one of the reasons that I'm asking these questions and picking your brain a little bit is because as I was preparing to come to this, I started doing a little bit more research into Duda, and we have been so stuck with other more, kind of traditional CMSs that we've been using over time, and it just feels like Duda has so many more features that are so friendly for us agency owners that it's made me want to consider moving some of our operations to Duda. So that's why I'm asking these.
Absolutely.
It's ingrained, right? The WP WordPress, like that's what agencies usually recommend. Yeah. How do you address that? How do you deal with that situation?
60% of our agency customers were prior WordPress users.
Uh-huh.
So we get a lot of these agencies that have been using WordPress, and they hit different walls, around upgrades, plugins breaking, vulnerabilities. Just I think the main comment that I hear is, I sleep better at night after moving to Duda, knowing that things are not going to break. Because Duda is just a well-oiled run machine. Everything from the hosting, the platform, right, the builder, the templates, the widgets, it's all provided by us. So it's all designed to run, and it's tested and QA that it just doesn't break. And when you have, if you're building 1, 2, 3 websites a year, maybe WordPress is fine. But where we see kind of that, the inflection where they come to do that is when they're getting to like 10, 100, thousands of sites. We have customers who have tens of thousands of sites. You can't manage it, each site independently on.
And, we've been dealing with this problem for a long time. We have a lot of clients, when their site breaks, they come to us.
Yes, they surprise. They're the ones to find out first about it, and that's never a situation where you want to be.
No, so that's an awesome solution,
right?
Daniel, a question for you.
Sure.
So you before we teamed up about 5 years ago, you were in a web design agency for 20 years. From your perspective, what is the single biggest difference between the challenges agencies faced even just like 5 years ago versus the challenges they face today in the age of AI and rapid development in terms of technology? Actually, probably a question for both of you.
Yeah, I'll start off and I'll hand it over. I'll take a step back real quick. I think today there's 3 kinds of agencies. You have web design and development agencies that wear the hat of just web designers. And we a lot of times get websites from these agencies that are completely not optimized for SEO because they don't think about the SEO things. We have then the SEO agencies, which a lot of times are just, traditionally building old websites that are going to rank well. And then you have the hybrid, which are the few agencies, in my experience, that do really good design development work that think about the DNA of SEO integrated into it. To answer your question, I think when I used to run the web design agency back then, at least for us, SEO was a afterthought. Let's build a website. Let's make sure it looks good. Let's make sure, it kind of checked all of the boxes. And then it went to an SEO agency where they would then start the work of optimizing it, speeding it up, so forth. Nowadays, I think that's changed. Number one, because we can go to market a lot more. I think one of the things that I love the most about building websites with the platforms today is the ability to choose from templates and say that's the starting point, and getting that and modifying it and getting it to a place where you have a final version much faster. That the ability to have something that not only works well, loads fast, has great scores on Core Web Vitals, but then has the SEO DNA built into it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And unless you want to say, or maybe you can add something. Hey, I do have a question for you, sort of on that topic. When we initially spoke in preparation for this podcast, I think a couple of months ago, you shared a really fascinating chart showing the exponential growth of referral traffic from AI platforms, Perplexity, Claude, GPT, etc. Right? A CEO of a platform with nearly, 1 million websites, right? How are you preparing Duda's technology for a future where traffic from Google may not necessarily be the primary source of discovery? It still is. But other platforms are getting a piece of that cake.
Absolutely. And when we think about AI in Duda, we really think mainly in 2 buckets. One, AI for productivity, which is how do I make, again, the life of the person building a website easier, leveraging AI. And the other bucket is what you're asking about, is what does it mean for a website to be discovered in this era of AI? And there's a lot of investment that we're doing there as well in terms of making sure that the website is optimized to be found by LLMs, by the LLMs crawlers. Things like automatically creating schemas, right? Product schemas, different geo schemas, different schemas. We just now launched automatically creating an LLM TXT file. It's just like the robot TXT file from the regular search, but now for LLMs. A lot of the things that we've been doing all the time around speed, Core Web Vitals are as important now as it was before, because you really want to be able to deliver the content to these crawlers as quickly as possible. We have integrations with Index Now. This is like the Google search, so it notifies. Sorry, it's the Bing search.
Yeah.
But we have the same thing with Google, where it notifies them whenever there's a change of content on the website, so they update. So they're updating themselves. So there's a lot of things that we're doing. We make it using AI to automatically create FAQs on the website. Now, FAQs are more important. Obviously, if it aligns to the prompt that someone's asking, there's more chance for that content to appear. So there's just a lot of investment that is going into that area of AI discoverability.
Do you have any hard data on how Duda websites rank in terms of SEO? Let's say if a Duda website is exactly the way optimized, like a WordPress website or a Wix website or a Squarespace, is there an advantage or disadvantage, or does it matter what platform somebody is on at this point?
I think it does matter. We have a very big following from the SEO community. So a lot of SEO experts are using our platform to build websites, and it's very important for them that these websites rank well. So
Yeah.
we've always been doing really well on this in this area. One of the things there's things that are harder to measure. One of the things that are measured, and it's measured by a third party. I just showed you earlier, Core Web Vitals, which we know is a signal to the Google search engine. It measures how fast a website loads. It measures the performance, the interactivity of the website, and Duda ranks there higher than we just broke 85%, which is higher than any other CMS platform out there. So we're doing a lot of behind the scenes optimization and investment in the website, so it loads fast. We can get into what we're actually doing, but there's a lot of really amazing engineering work that is involved
on that
there.
Note real quick, we should put a link on the description later to this finding because it's an eye opener, and to kind of on that answer, this ability to have an improved metrics on the Core Web Vitals is extremely important. And I've found that many of the clients that come to us, we simply have our hands tied, and it's a differential to answer your question. How well is this platform going to rank over other ones? If everything else is the same, the Core Web Vitals is a lot superior, that website is going to have a much better chance of ranking higher.
Yeah, and it kind of reminds me of what you mentioned previously. These things have to be done while the website is being built. To do it as an afterthought, to take a website and say, oh, let's optimize it for SEO, let's optimize it for Core Web Vitals after it was built, is much harder. It's a very big lift. But if it's done kind of behind the scenes by the platform as it's being built, and a lot of it is done without the user even needing to know about it, right? Optimization of images, image compressions for different types of devices, a lot of technical things that it's great when they're done underneath the hood, and eventually being able to provide.
And real quick on the answer that I was saying, that there's old school camps of web design companies that don't wear the SEO hats. The expectation today is that websites are built with this engineered into it. And my understanding is, from the Duda perspective, is you're giving the tools so this happens without them having to worry about it too much, right? Because it's part of the DNA of the CMS. Before we go, I have another question. So you mentioned the frequently asked questions, and that for us is like such a strong SEO tool. We always build, frequently asked questions. And I'm thinking that the tool essentially sees the content that's on the website and generates the questions and the answers in the schema, so forth.
Exactly.
In addition to that, does Duda have the ability to, or does it work with outside plugins or systems that also generate content for clients? Or how does the content creation work in Duda? Is it mostly the responsibility of the owner of the website to upload content, or do you work with tools that assists in AI generated?
So there's multiple ways to do it. We're actually investing a lot in this area of how you start to build your website. So the traditional way is you pick a template, and that's still available today. There's a way where you can say start with AI, where you inside Duda, where you give some basic information about the business and let AI do all the generation. So it will, let's say you're building a website for an accountant. It goes and studies 10,000 accountant websites out there, and it will recommend the navigation structure and the content that should be on an accountant website, and the images and everything. And it, I won't say that, hey, you just click a few buttons and it's ready to go. But it's a good head start. It gives you a pretty good head start. And you can kind of play with the design and the layouts and ask it for different layouts and keep the content, or I like this layout, just change the content, change the images. So there's a lot of ways to play with it. So that's another way to start. One of the newer additions that we have is start from a file. So this is actually very relevant to agencies. A lot of agencies have a client intake form where they interview the client. You can upload an unstructured Google Doc or Word doc into Duda based on that conversation that you had with your client, and it will generate a site based on that.
Brilliant. And similar to the AI agent.
Yeah. And by the way, even on the client intake form, we have AI embedded where we can suggest, you tell us what kind of business, what kind of questions you should ask in the intake form, and an intake form would be sent from the platform. You can add your own questions. You can have AI add some additional questions. And all that content is collected, stored in our CMS, and then it can be leveraged.
Then it's truly customized and
Right.
for the customer.
Yeah, totally.
Is this feature already?
Yeah.
That's
So segue into this question.
content collection form. Okay.
Content collection form.
Play with it.
Agency of the future. So we all seem to agree that AI won't replace agencies quite yet. I think we're still going to be in business in 2000.
We haven't talked about it. We should talk about it.
Yeah.
We agreed. Now let's explain what.
But agencies that use AI will replace those that don't, right? You're a heavily AI-driven platform at this point. What does that successful future-proofed agency actually look like in practice? Like, you will continue to add more AI features. Do you see that agencies that don't use Duda, are they falling behind? How do you feel about that?
Yeah. So first of all, I totally am a big believer that agencies are going to be needed, way into the future. And I think my basic premise is the digital landscape is becoming more complex, right? And as the digital landscape becomes more complex, there's less likelihood of an SMB succeeding without the help of an expert, right? Just one example. In the past, really, SEO was equal to Google. Figure out Google and you get traffic. Now you have to figure out Google, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, Grok, the list goes on. So there's more channels where SMBs are getting traffic from, and that's more complex. And it's not, I don't think it's likely that the owner of a pizzeria or the accountant or the dentist have the time to invest to figure out. But this is where the role of the agency is. And although Duda is one of the companies out there. There's many other companies that are embedding AI, and maybe it's easier than ever to put a website out there. And that evolution has been going on for 20 years. It's all that, if you were to build a website 20 years ago, you needed to launch servers, and it was much write HTML, right? It was much more complex. So I think that putting a website out there is easier than ever. But there's a very big gap between having a website out there and helping a business grow. Because to help a business grow, you have to have a digital marketing strategy. Now, that strategy includes orchestrating different tools. And it's good that the tools are becoming easier, because agencies like us can use these tools and provide more value to SMBs, hopefully at lower cost. But I think, again, the role of the agency is to build that digital marketing strategy for an SMB to help them grow. And that need is not going away.
Yeah.
So I completely agree. Even 6 months ago, nobody would ask me about GEO, right? Generative Engine Optimization, etc. And now I would say 3 out of 5 potential clients that we talk to, they ask us, hey, how do you guys use AI? How do you make sure we actually get shown in Gemini, GPT, etc., etc.? So I agree. I mean, we're luckily doing really well. There's a lot of demand. I think digital marketing and SEO is getting more complex. Luckily, we got into it very early. We do a lot with AI, so I completely...
Yeah, and on that note, I think like what, in our agency or other agencies, the human capital, the people, I think they're going to be strategists.
Yeah.
But they're going to become AI operators as well. They have to be extremely comfortable on knowing how to leverage and use these tools, because then we could do a lot more for the clients, right?
Absolutely. Like look at some of the examples that you've shown me of the tools like Napkin or all these other tools, right? Think of how many people you needed to have in the past in order to do every single thing. Now you can have one person do a lot of things, and that translates into efficiency, higher margins, better profitability.
Completely agree. I think we can do a lot more with the same amount of people that we have, simply because AI is so powerful. And if you understand how to use that technology, you completely can take advantage of. Right. On that note, so how does Duda balance providing powerful automation with ensuring each site remains unique and strategically customized by the agency? So you're evolving very rapidly, right?
Yeah.
And some people on the users, they probably don't evolve at the same time. How do you find a good balance there?
Yeah. So you're referring to our end customers are...
Yeah. So I'm personally overwhelmed.
Yes.
I go hike for a couple of days and I come back and like the world has changed.
Yeah.
There's so much more that happened. You guys are rapidly developing your platform. How do people keep up on the user side?
Yeah, I think it's a tough one. It's a real problem. Like we're launching new features all the time. The pace of innovation is faster than I've ever seen it. It's tough to stay appraised of what has come out. I think if it's tough for us as the technologists, as the agencies, think about the small businesses. They're completely lost, right? That's why they're coming to you and asking about AIO, GEO. They don't, even the acronyms are confusing because there's so many to call the same thing. I think we're trying to do our best in terms of both surfacing the new capabilities in the platform in a way that people can find, creating support materials, education materials. By the way, we've run surveys with small businesses asking what do they feel like the agency's role in the era of AI, and one of the top things that they're expecting from agencies is to play that role of the educator. Like that the agency would be the one going out into the market, doing the research of the different tools, and then come back to the small business and recommend, the best tools to use for that business. So I think that's our role probably in this new area, is to, bring clarity, do the research, and come up with the right recommendations to help that SMB.
Let me ask you a question. So the days of build it and they will come are no longer here, right? I think that a good website needs to be built well, and then there's all of the stuff that an SEO agency needs to do.
Right.
What percentage of the agencies that work with Duda now, that are Duda partners, do you feel do just the development versus development, but also the ongoing SEO? Do you have any idea?
Yeah. I think a lot, I remember this in the early days. I feel a lot of the agencies were, web designers. We build the site and then kind of we throw it over advanced. We teach the small business a few things and then go maintain the website. I've seen that evolve like many years ago already, where, agencies have been trying to figure out, how do I get to play in this recurring revenue game, in the subscription game? If you turn over the website and the maintenance is being done by the small business, then you lose that opportunity to upsell more services. So part of like where agencies can continue and provide, ongoing SEO, ongoing keyword tracking, ongoing content marketing, where I create blogs for you, post blogs for you. So that need to be able to create and show ongoing value and being able to charge monthly for that. I think this is where we're going to see that continue
Okay. So then Duda does offer that support to agencies.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right. I feel that. So your new MCP product, Model Context Protocol, which allows managing a site from an external platform like ChatGPT, really sounds revolutionary, right? Could you walk us through a practical example of how an agency might use this
Yes.
to become dramatically more efficient?
Yeah. Yeah, so what you're talking about is one of the new features that we recently launched, where you're able to connect your website to via an MCP server into some of these client AI platforms. I'm not sure ChatGPT yet supports, but Claude from Anthropic supports it, Cursor supports it, and I know it's just a matter of time until the other AI platforms support it. And what you can do is basically this MCP server basically wrapped up all the Duda APIs. So it's able to call all these Duda APIs from, let's say, Claude. And what you can do is, since we have a lot of these APIs available, you basically go into Claude and say, create a website, and it will create a website. And then you can tell it what content you want inside. You can tell it if you're now kind of post building a website, you want to get more information. So for example, if it's an e-commerce website, you can ask it, tell me how much sales did I do in the past month? Generate a report for me. So all these things, by pulling data and just through native prompting of native English language, you can have all that done. Now, where this becomes super interesting is when you combine multiple services. So for example, I could say, let's say I want to create a blog for my client. Let's say my client is a veterinarian. I would go into Claude and say, what are the top 10 trends in veterinarians? And then it would give me 10 different topics that, I'm an agency. I'm not necessarily an expert in trends in veterinarians. Then I would pick one of these trends and say, write a blog post for me, add an image to it, and then post it on my blog. And all that would happen right in a matter of seconds or minutes. And then so we're basically integrating here a call to write for generic search, and then we're using kind of APIs into Duda to create the site or create the blog post. And then afterwards, maybe if you're also integrated into your workflow management tool, be it like Jira, Asana, Monday, you could also tell Claude, mark that task as done, and send the client an email with the URL of their blog post.
That's what we've been talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
What the future should look like.
Yeah. So this is. It's not the future. This is the present.
Nice.
You can do that right now, and it's pretty amazing. Now think of wow, the efficiency that has just been exposed here.
So I bet we're going to see a lot new features for agentic AI-driven features, what you just described, which is a whole new discussion and something groundbreaking that we're also implementing at our agency now.
A quick question on that. So is the interface that the user is working to interact, is it through Claude, or is Claude integrated into Duda in the chat is inside Duda through an API?
Okay. So I was talking about Claude, and you can add into Claude like MCP servers. So you would need to add, we would give you kind of the basically kind of the serial ID to add the Duda MCP server into Claude. Okay. So that's what I was referring to. But we're also now in development of another feature that we call like Copilot, and that would be a chat interface inside the Duda editor, so you could do all that within Duda as well. So that's coming out pretty shortly.
All right, so let's talk about privacy. So with AI now involved in every step from content creation, SEO, and many other tasks, what is Duda's philosophy on data privacy? for both the agency and their end client, the small business? How do you talk to us about data privacy?
Yeah, data privacy and security is really important.
Yeah.
We do even inside Duda, like it's an issue that we also think about a lot. Even our own employees have access to different AI tools. You want to make sure that things like customer information, your financial numbers don't leak into these tools. That on one hand. On the other hand, you don't want to tell your employees, don't use AI, right? You want to make sure that people are innovating, people are trying out new tools that we're learning, because it's very easy to just lock everything up, but then you're at risk that your agency, your company is just going to fall behind. So it's a balancing game between these two. We have, for any AI tool that you want to use, it has to go through a security review inside Duda for us to, by our chief security officer, for us to approve it. We know, in terms of the sites themselves, a lot of the generation and of the content and all that, it's mostly on the client side, so it doesn't have access, like these AI platforms don't have access to the back end of our platform, where a lot of the more sensitive information is kept. So I think we're doing our best at this stage to, on one hand, allow innovation to happen while putting kind of the guardrail to protect privacy.
Talking about a lot of data from a lot of people, our websites. What are most agencies getting wrong about website performance right now? Did you have metrics? Do you take a look at what are people doing wrong? Anything that stands out?
That I think in general in this, I think before I touch on like specific metrics, I think agencies, especially in this AI era, we need to think about how we are more than just creating some kind of brochureware website that maybe some of the tools today can do it themselves. So it has to be about creating websites that are more performant, that are more transactional. We talk a lot about what does it mean to build a transactional website these days. Transactional websites is not just about selling physical goods. It's about a website that drives real ROI for a small business. It's a website that generates booking, schedules appointments, takes payments, maybe offers people to subscribe to different things, has advanced forms with logic. So these are the things that AI is still not there to do itself, but agencies with some know-how can add these capabilities and prove to their end customers that they're driving and generating real value, real ROI, real revenue from these websites.
I think, and I don't know if you agree, if you guys agree, but I see a lot of people abusing AI. They're not putting in the effort to get the most out of it. So that's something that I see when I talk with, people out there, even fellow industry experts. I don't think we fully take advantage of this technology yet. So that's what I'm seeing, where people are just lazy, and I'm guilty of that as well. But I think you can get so much out of this new technology by just like put a little bit more effort.
Yeah. I think a lot of people really abused AI, especially in the content creation side of things, right? Because there's still, AI is just making productivity and building and creating and optimizing so much better, but the content creations where Google all of a sudden got surprised by like, oh, they didn't expect that amount of new data on the internet, and they had to do drastic changes, which now they're starting to feel a little bit more comfortable in terms of what to rank, what not to rank. So I think that for us was, a much bigger change in terms of the SEO side of things, where still people are still abusing, right?
Yeah.
AI.
Yeah, and we just recently spoke with somebody, and I always ask, hey, are you using AI? If so, how? And it's like, yeah, I put up I think 200 or 300 blog posts within a few days. Of course, the site tanked. So there's a place and a way to do and use this new technology. So that being said, we're sort of coming to the end of this conversation. Where do you see the biggest opportunities for agencies, let's say 1 to 2 years? I know that's a long time frame in the age that we live. What are the opportunities?
Yeah, I think it's touching on what I kind of more recently said. I think thinking about how do you, it starts from the expectations of the SMBs. They want to see more value for what they're paying for. And I think that more value comes in terms of building things that are more sophisticated, websites, building websites that are more like transactional, as I explained before. I think there's opportunities around verticalization, going deeper into specific industries. Potentially, I've seen agencies that have started to develop some technology themselves, especially when it's industry specific. So they kind of become this hybrid agency and kind of software company, and potentially that could be a new revenue stream. So, I've always kind of been a believer in verticalization and for agencies and going deep, becoming experts in specific areas, and then kind of getting more and more customers in that area, understanding that having a very common the nomenclature, and if I come to you and you're a lawyer and I've built 50 websites, I know to tell you what are the things that you should have or shouldn't have on a website.
Yeah. Cool. Let me ask a follow-up question on that. So that's on the agency side. Let's say 2030, 5 years from now, if you could think of a hairy, audacious, big goal, this might be impossible, but what do you think Duda is going to look like in the future?
Yeah, I think about it a lot. Obviously, we're kind of running a technology company. I think, one of the interesting things AI means that leveraging AI means we can build much more faster, more functionality than in the past. I think we're going to see, Duda and definitely many other software companies expand their product suite without compromising on quality. And I think in the past it was much harder to do it. Like if you would think of, hey, I'm let's say Duda website builder, could I branch into social media, SEO, marketing automation, right? Like other parts of the MarTech stack. I would say, there's really big companies in every one of these spaces. It's going to be, there's no chance for me to compete. And if I try to compete, I would maybe back in the day create a product that would be inferior. I think now there's a higher chance to be able to deliver a much more integrated platform, which would still be best of breed, where these ancillary products, I can build them more easily. They would be much more integrated, much more native to the user, easier for the end user to just come into one system and do all these things. And potentially, right, SEO, already today, half of SEO has to be done is on page. Mm-hmm. So we are providing that today inside the platform. There's a lot of parts of SEO that are not done on page, are done externally. These are things that we can potentially branch into in the future. So I think kind of in short, I think you can expect the platform to expand, offer more functionality, more products without compromise on quality.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like we may need to have another conversation. Yeah. More than a year from now. See where we're at. Yeah. Thank you so much. I know already went a little bit over time. But yeah, I really enjoyed this conversation. Any last thoughts, questions, anything, or should we regroup in like a year or so? See.
Yeah, I mean, this has been really enlightening. I mean, just by understanding what you guys are working on and all of these things that align perfectly with what we believe needs to be in place for a website to make our lives easier.
Yeah.
Right. So I appreciate you taking the time. Yeah, it's been good.
Yeah, it's been a fun conversation. Thanks for hopping by to my office, and love to do it again. So.
Cool. Thank you so much for having us here, Itai. Again, this is the AI SEO Insider podcast. Today we talked about web design and Duda. Hopefully we'll do this again. As always, stay safe and healthy. Raulf here, AI SEO expert. We'll see you all next time.
See you next time.
Cool. Thank you.